Alright guys, so in today's video, I want to talk about the Edge of Fate and the concerns I have with the next saga of Destiny going forward. Bungie with this next expansion are making a lot of changes, a lot of core gameplay changes to the game to freshen it up, and there's some of them I really do think is going to be very good changes and benefit the game greatly going forward. But then there's some that they're doing that I don't know what we're doing with that, Bungie. The feeling I keep getting with this next saga of Destiny is Bungie keep making one step forward, then taking one step back kind of moves. And I'll explain what I mean by that here in a few moments. But first things first, I want to go over the changes that Bungie are making that I genuinely think is going to improve the game. You know, things that I think improve the game with no drawbacks. And one of the changes Bungie is making that I think was a long time coming is the armor set bonuses. For a long time, armor has kind of been meaningless. Everyone farmed Kydal or Grasp of Avarice for Artifice armor and then kind of pieced out once you got the god rolls for your armor. So the fact that armor can actually be incorporated into build crafting now is just a really good change, and it actually gives some meaning to armor. And I think that's going to really improve the game in a lot of ways. And I don't think there's anything that could be bad about the armor set bonuses. I will say the armor set bonuses they've showcased so far have been kind of mid looking. I haven't really seen any juice yet for those, but hopefully once we get into the Edge of Fate and we start unraveling all these armor set bonuses, we'll come across some stuff that's really good, and I'm really excited for that. Another thing too is the new tier system. I think the tier system makes it really easy to understand what weapons are good, what weapons are bad right off at first glance. I really like that tier 5 weapons have unique glows. They have a mod socket for the unique death animations. I think that's really cool. We finally get to use sweaty confetti and have it be meaningful instead of having to take your mod slot. I'm really excited about the tier system. I think that's going to be a really good system going forward. I was never the biggest fan of crafting. I know it's kind of a hot topic debate, but you know, I was never the biggest fan of it. So I think with this new tier system is going to allow and kind of push forward is that grind again, that excitement when you get a drop, whether it be a tier 4, tier 5, tier 3 even. When you get a drop, there's actually going to be some excitement again because you don't know what you just got, but you know it's going to be good because you can see what the tier level of the gun was. So I'm really excited for that aspect. And I think long term, it's going to be way better than what we've been having for the last few years. Also, the firing range. Finally, we have a place we can go to test our weapons, damage, builds, whatever, without having to go to Grasp of Avarice Ogre or Carl from the Lost Sector on Nessus. The fact that it's been this long for us to get a firing range is kind of insane, but we're finally getting it at least, and so I'm really happy about that. Next, I'm really excited about the custom set difficulty we're going to be getting in the Edge of Fate. I think it's super unique and really cool that we're going to be able to take activities that we already know, but slap our own modifiers on it, change it in our own way, and set our own difficulty to either increase our rewards or offer different play styles or different ways to play that activity. And it's all in the hands of the user. Really excited about that change. I know that a lot of people kind of aren't loving that, at least from what I'm seeing in the community, but I personally am really excited for that. The next few things I want to talk about are things that I'm not necessarily excited for them, but I'm not ruling them out either. I just need to see how they're going to play. One of those things being the way seasonal power progression is going to work going forward. I think it's really cool that no longer are we going to have to be 2019 power. The last thing we need is a pair of boots, and every time we run pinnacles, you don't get those boots. Doesn't matter what you do, you don't get them, so you're staying at 2019. I think it's really cool that we're going to be getting a new currency that we can infuse into gear to get all the way leveled up. But where I'm a little iffy on this system is I haven't seen many places where Bungie has talked about where you're able to get this new currency to level up your gear. From all the promotional stuff I've seen, it looks like it's in event passes, seasonal pass, and they can drop from gear that's already leveled up when you dismantle them. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think if they drop from most activities like enhancement cores do, I think that would be pretty good. But where I don't fully know how we're going to be getting this new currency yet, that's why I'm a little iffy on it. But the prospect of this new system does have me quite excited. I just have to see how it's going to play out. The next thing I'm a little iffy on is the new stat rework. Don't get me wrong, I think the stats needed to be reworked. For a long time, they've kind of been meaningless. And so I'm really happy that we're going to be getting new reworked stats that are going to impact our gameplay gameplay on a higher level now. The one area I'm a little iffy on the new stat rework is the weapon stat. I'm a little concerned that the weapon stat is just going to become the new resilience stat, where everyone just dumps into that stat, therefore killing a lot of creativity of making builds. But we'll just have to see how the community reacts when we get this new system in our hands. So stat rework, overall, I'm pretty excited about it. Just a little iffy on how it's going to play out, because I don't know like how easy it's going to be to have multiple 200s, if we're going to be able to even have two 200 stats. And if we do have two 200 stats, what does that mean for our other stats? Are they going to be really low, and so everything else is going to feel really bad? That's where I'm a little iffy on it. But overall, I think the new stat rework is going to be pretty good for the game, and I'm pretty excited about it. All right, now let's get into the main reason I wanted to make this video in the first place, the concerns I have with Edge of Fate, which, not gonna lie, there are a few concerns. At the beginning of this video, I talked about how I felt Bungie was taking one step forward and then right after taking a step back. And the reason I feel that way is because what I just previously talked about, those are all meaningful, really well crafted changes. But then they're making changes elsewhere that I really don't like. For instance, the new gear bonus in the seasonal artifact. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of that. Don't get me wrong, I will always take more damage to guns, more damage resistance to armor. I will always take that. I don't like the way it's being handled in the Edge of Fate. My main reason for that is it's almost like a soft sunsetting every season, because if you want to have the best damage, if you want to have the best whatever damage resistance, you know, you have to grind the new activities, get the new gear, which I'm not opposed to grinding new activities and getting new gear. That's what makes Destiny Destiny. It's the looting, the grind. I understand that, and I love that aspect of Destiny. The problem I have with it is it's based off new seasons. You know, we've seen from time and time again that not every season is built the same. Like, looking back at Season of the Wish, if you look at that season, those guns are still really good, right? Dune Petitioner, I still see people using today. Scatter Signal as well. Probably my most used fusion rifle in the kinetic slot is Scatter Signal still, because it's genuinely that good. But if you look at the seasons prior to Season of the Wish, you got Season of the Witch, Season of the Deep. I mean, I don't even have to talk about those seasons that much, because no one really remembers those weapons. I mean, maybe the Eremite from Season of the Witch, but even then, those weapons weren't that good. And my problem with this new system is that I don't know what the new season is going to be. It might be weapons that I genuinely love and I'm so excited to use and get that damage buff, get that damage resistance. But the thing is, we just don't know yet. We could have a situation where we have Season of the Wish where, you know, most of the weapons are just incredible. Top of the line, just absolute bangers. But then the next season could be like a Season of the Deep where most of the weapons are really not that good. But if you want that damage buff, if you want that new system, you're going to have to play with those new weapons. And it doesn't even have to be that the weapons perks aren't great. It could just be that the weapon archetype really isn't for you. I generally like using 140s in PvE, and I despise 180s. And in the next season, they might not have a 140 hand cannon, but they'll have a 180 or a 120, and like a hand cannon I don't want to use in PvE at all. But if I want that damage buff in PvE, I'm going to have to use those weapons. That's where I don't like this new system. And then to play into this new system even more, Bungie are hand-picking exotics, like weapons, armor, that will receive these buffs every season. That I also really don't like. Watching the developer live streams, I kept seeing them say that they want to inspire more Guardians to create more builds and have more creative builds, and that was a key contributor to them changing the stats and reworking all the stats. But the problem I have with this is they say that, and then they go around and say, by the way, if you want to have more damage and you want to have more damage resistance, we're going to let you just use these exotics that we're going to pick for you, therefore limiting what people can make builds with if they want to spec into that. I understand it's not that much of a damage buff, it's not that much damage resistance, so you don't have to use these curated exotics that they're picking for you, but that's not necessarily the point. The point is, people have their favorite exotics, people have builds they like to run, and if they don't run what Bungie picks for them, then they're already at a slight disadvantage compared to others. That I really don't like. That right there is killing the creative freedom of making a build, because they're basically telling you, hey, choose from these exotics this season to make a build with, not necessarily what you want to use. And I mean, just looking at the exotics Bungie picked, a lot of the exotics that I typically use aren't on there. Celestial Nighthawk on Hunter's not there. Synthoceps on Titan isn't there. Even things like Sunbracers and Speaker's Sight on Warlock aren't there. And that's a big problem I have, is I want to be able to use the builds I enjoy using. I don't want Bungie to tell me what armor is going to be good for that season. I want to just be able to use the armor I want to use. When I think about these changes where the new weapons are getting the buff, the new armor is getting a buff, and then curated exotics are getting a buff, the thing I keep coming back to and the way I keep feeling about it is that it just doesn't feel that innovative. It doesn't quite feel like an evolution of the game like how they've been pitching it this whole time. To me, it feels kind of lazy. Like, hey, rather than make new exotics that are really good that you're going to want to use, rather than make new weapons with new perks that are really interesting and really exciting that you're going to want to grind for, we're just going to give it all a damage resist and damage buff so that way you'll actually grind for them. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like they're innovating that much. They're just slapping this damage stuff on it to make it, make people actually care about the new loot, which, to be fair, I understand where Bungie is coming from with this, because I know a lot of people that they are glued to the guns they like and they don't ever want to change that. They don't want to ever do anything, and Bungie wants them to experience the new guns they're making. I understand that, but there's, in my opinion, a wrong way and a right way to do it, and the wrong way is just slapping a flat damage buff on these new weapons and this curated armor and whatever. The right way is true innovation that is new perks, new armor, new exotics, whatever, that are genuinely really good and that people are gonna want to use, and that's what should make players grind for those, not just to get a little bit more damage or a little bit more damage resistance. Another really big gripe I have too is armor archetypes. I can't explain how much I'm disappointed with this change they're making. Don't get me wrong, I do like the idea of having armor be in archetypes, like having set armor that has a primary stat, a secondary stat, and a random third. That to me is a good idea. The problem I have is the limited amount of armor sets that are going to have at launch, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen Bungie at all make any comments saying that they're going to add more post Edge of Fate. This to me also kills a lot of creativity with builds. Like, you could have someone who wants to make like a 200 grenade and 200 melee where he's just chucking out melees, chucking out grenades left, right, and center, and that's their build. But with this new armor rework, they won't be able to do that because there's not going to be anything that's a melee and then grenade secondary. I mean, if you're looking around on YouTube right now, there's a lot of streamers and top PvE players that are literally farming armor again in today's game before Edge of Fate launches just to get 30 mobility, which will translate to 30 weapons, and 30 intellect, which will translate to 30 super. So they get more damage on their super and more damage on their weapons. The fact that we have to grind gear now before Edge of Fate even launches to have something that we should be able to just have an Edge of Fate already, to me just feels really, really bad. Again, I want to reiterate, I do like this change of having archetypes. They just should have made sure that they had an archetype for every single playstyle in the game, and that would have opened up a lot of creativity with build crafting. All of this is doing is just limiting build crafting even more, like how we talked about with the exotics and the new weapons getting a flat damage buff and damage resistance. Next major gripe I have with Edge of Fate is the lack of directory. I understand that for a long time, especially for new players, the directory we have now is very hard to understand, and even for some veteran players, sometimes you kind of forget where each raid is or where each dungeon is located. And I understand that. And I understand that with the portal, they're aiming to fix that. What I don't like, however, is that they're not going to really be updating the directory going forward. It's just going to be straight portal. Like, the new destination for Edge of Fate, Kepler, is not even going to appear at all on the directory. I strongly do not feel that's a good change. The directory has such an iconic Destiny feel to it. It's iconic. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It really is just iconic thing of Destiny that I feel very strongly about them not updating it. I feel like there's some tweaks that you could have made to the directory to make it easier to understand and better for players to find things. And there's even people on YouTube that have redesigned the directory to make it look better. And I feel like that would have been been a good change that Bungie could have made to make the directory a little bit easier to understand, make it better going forward. Not saying get rid of the portal. I think the portal can serve a purpose to show everyone on just one page, hey, here's all the new stuff that's available this week. That to me is where the portal should have been. And then the directory got an upgrade. Not we're kind of axing the directory and we're just putting everything into the portal. That I do not like at all. I feel like Bungie really missed the boat on that. Again, I'm going to try to keep an open mind with the portal going into Edge of Fate, and I'm going to give it a fair try. I'm going to see how I like it, see if I like that as the new system going forward. But just off first impressions, I don't think I'm going to like it that much. All right, next thing I have, I'm not going to call this a major gripe because it's really not a major gripe. It's just a nitpick. And maybe I'm being a little petty for this one, but the new damage numbers that they're showing off, I don't know. I might be the only person that thinks that's really stupid. I hate that they're squishing everything down. Like, yes, I understand that damage numbers don't really mean anything in today's sandbox because they're all just massive, but I don't know. There's something about hitting a 1 million golden gun that just is really satisfying, and I just don't know. When I was watching, I can't remember what stream it was, but I was watching one of the developer live streams when they're showing off, and someone threw Twilight Arsenal at a boss and it hit for 12 damage. That to me just feels like it's not going to feel good. Like, I know it's not like they're squishing everything down, even the enemy health, so it's going to feel relatively the same, but I don't know. There's something really satisfying about throwing your super at something and then seeing really big damage numbers. That's just something I've always kind of liked about Destiny. I thought that was always fun, and so that's just a nitpick to me. Again, I'll have to see how I like it in the new sandbox, but as it stands right now, I don't think I'm going to like it as much, but we'll give it a fair shot when it comes out. And then my last kind of, I don't want to say concern for Edge of Fate, but something I do have a bit of an issue with them promoting it is they keep comparing this to a Rise of Iron like expansion. The problem I have with that is they're not really clarifying what they mean by that. I was watching Azcross video, and in the comment section I found a comment that really resonated with what I was feeling on this topic, and I'll put it on screen now. But just reading this comment, Rise of Iron gave us 3 new strikes, 3 modified versions of older strikes, 3 new PvP maps, a new raid, a new location, new seasonal-esque activity, over 35 legendary weapons, and 11 exotic weapons, as well as 4 to 5 exotic armor pieces per class. I don't know about you, but just looking at the Monument to Lost Light and looking at all the previous expansions, the amount of exotics we're getting has gone drastically down. And looking at something like Rise of Iron, I think we look back at it and we say, oh yeah, you know, it was a decent sized expansion, but it wasn't as big as the Taken King. It's like, you're right, the Taken King cooked, but Rise of Iron wasn't that small of an expansion. And looking at things previously, like set for maybe Final Shape, Rise of Iron, in my opinion, has been bigger than Beyond Light. It's been bigger than Shadowkeep. You can make an argument that had more content to play than Lightfall. And these were all expansions that had that full year development under their belt. We're going to be going into a new system where we're getting 2 not as big expansions per year now that aren't going to have that full year of development under the belt. They're only going to have 6 months in between each expansion. So I feel like Bungie is drastically overselling the amount of content we're going to be getting with these new expansions if they keep likening it to a Rise of Iron level of expansion, because Rise of Iron, you can make an argument, had more content than half the expansions in Destiny today. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts and concerns on Edge of Fate. Overall, I would say I'm pretty excited to get my hands on it and play the new changes, but when I look at all the changes that they're making as a whole, I definitely feel like there's a lot more negatives that they are making to Destiny than there are positives. And it does genuinely have me worried about the future of Destiny 2 and, you know, frankly, Bungie as a whole. You know, if you clicked on this video, you probably already know all the stuff that's going on with Bungie and, you know, the sheer amount of money that they're losing and player counts that they're losing. And to me, I feel like a lot of these changes that I've kind of gone over, at least speaking to the players I play with that have played Destiny for a long time, they're not that excited about it. And right now, the only thing keeping the lights on at Bungie HQ is that devoted player base that plays Destiny day in and day out. And if you're upsetting those type of players with these changes that you're making, that to me is a recipe for disaster, where they really don't have that much wiggle room to piss off the people that are funding everything they're doing. So while I'm hopeful hopeful for the future of Destiny 2 and Bungie as a whole, there's a part of me that is very concerned about what is going to happen going forward with the game I love so much to play. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know in the comments anything I could have touched on, I could have added to this video, or concerns or things that you're excited for going into Edge of Fate. Also, this Saturday coming up, we have a new raid that's coming out, and me and my team, we're going to be going in trying to get that world's first day 1 completion. So if you want to watch that live, go ahead and check out my Twitch, link in the description. We're going to be live streaming it. It's going to be a good time. Hope to see you guys there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.